June 6, 1944, 04:28 hours, Southern England. A low mist clings to the hedgerows like breath held too long. Somewhere beyond the blackout curtains, the engines have already started. You can hear them if you listen closely, the distant, uneven thunder of thousands of aircraft warming up, coughing to life, one by one. The sound travels through damp air and brick walls into a small, dimly lit command room where a single desk lamp burns like a lone star. General George S. Patton stands rigid, helmet tucked under his arm, riding crop resting against his leg. He hasn't slept. He hasn't needed to. This is the morning he has been waiting for his entire life. Maps cover the walls, Normandy's jagged coastline marked in grease pencil, arrows stabbing inland like bayonets. Unit designations, timetables, tide windows, everything precise, everything brutal, everything ready. Patton checks his watch again. 04:29. Any moment now, the radio should crackle. Confirmation, movement, execution. Instead, nothing. The silence stretches. It has weight. It presses against the room until even the aides feel it, standing frozen, afraid to breathe too loudly. One young major wipes sweat from his temple despite the chill. Another pretends to read a clipboard he's already memorized. Patton doesn't move, but something has shifted behind his eyes. Because Patton knows the sound of war beginning. He knows the rhythm of an offense once it's unleashed. This dead air is wrong. Outside, history is supposed to be unfolding. Inside, it's stalling. The orders had been clear, brutally clear. In this version of the war, this fragile hinge of possibility, Patton is not merely a decoy commander for a phantom army. His role has been expanded, unorthodox, risky. But Eisenhower, pressed by time and German uncertainty, had authorized something bold. Patton would unleash a rapid exploitation force the moment the beaches were secured. A hammer blow timed not for days later, but hours. Armor is ready to surge, recon elements primed to probe, a promise of relentless pressure before the Germans could even understand where the real landing had occurred. Patton had relished it. Speed, he'd barked during briefings, jabbing his crop at the map. Speed is the soul of war. We don't let them breathe. We don't let them think. His subordinates nodded, some thrilled, some terrified. But now, on the morning when the plan should ignite, no movement orders are being acknowledged. The radios remain stubbornly mute. Finally, Patton turns. His boots scrape against the floor, sharp in the stillness. "Get me Shafe, now!" An aide lunges for the phone. Minutes pass, then more. Word begins to trickle in, not from Patton's chain of command, but sideways, fragmented, distorted. Utah Beach, contested, but holding. Omaha, chaos, blood in the surf, units pinned. British sectors, moving inland, slowly. And Patton's force, still sitting, still waiting, still shackled. Someone, multiple someones, higher up the chain, has decided to hesitate. Across the channel, dawn breaks over Normandy with cruel indifference. The sea is rougher than forecast. Landing craft slam into sandbars. Men spill into waist-deep water under machine gun fire that sounds like canvas tearing apart. At Omaha, the bluffs erupt. MG-42s chatter with mechanical precision. Entire sections vanish in seconds. Officers scream orders that can't be heard. Medics crawl through the surf, hands red, eyes wild. The beach becomes a graveyard before it becomes a foothold. This was always the risk. The Allied plan depends on momentum, on the idea that overwhelming force applied everywhere at once will crack the German response before it can coalesce. But momentum is a living thing, and right now it's bleeding out on the sand. Back in England, Patton slams his fist into the edge of the map table. "God damn it," he growls. "They're waiting." He knows who they are. Cautious staff officers, committee men, generals who fear committing armor too soon, too deep, too recklessly, men haunted by memories of Dieppe, men who believe patience is prudence. Patton despises them. He paces now like a caged animal, voice rising. "If we wait, the Krauts will figure it out. They always do. You let them breathe, they dig in. You let them dig in, you pay in blood." An aide clears his throat. "Sir, Shafe advises holding until the beachhead situation clarifies." Patton spins on him. "Clarifies?" His eyes blaze. "Men are dying now. The situation clarifies when you force the enemy to react to you." The aide swallows. No one disagrees, but no one acts, because the orders, Patton's orders, are being quietly ignored. Across the German command network, uncertainty reigns. Reports flood in from Normandy, airborne drops inland, seaborne landings across multiple sectors. Rommel is away, Rundstedt hesitates, Hitler sleeps. But something else is missing. There is no immediate armored exploitation, no thunderous counterpunch racing inland from the Allied side. To the Germans watching from command posts and church towers, it feels restrained, cautious, and that sets off alarms, because this is not how the Americans usually fight. In a bunker near La Roche-Guyon, a German operations officer frowns at his map. "Where is the follow-on force?" he mutters. Panzer Lehr remains held back. The 12th SS waits. Orders are contradictory, delayed, and filtered through layers of command. But as the hours tick by, a dangerous thought begins to form. What if this is it? What if the Allies had committed everything to the beaches and nothing more? What if the landing can be contained? By midday, Omaha is barely holding. Utah fares better, but the exits are clogged. British forces grind forward against stiff resistance near Caen. The airborne troops inland are scattered, isolated, fighting with whatever they can scrounge. And Patton's armored spearhead? Engines cold. Crews smoking cigarettes, staring at the horizon, waiting for a green light that never comes. Patton receives another update. His jaw tightens with every word. Casualty estimates are climbing, German artillery repositioning, panzer elements reported moving toward the coast. He whispers, almost to himself, "They're going to hit us." For the first time that morning, doubt crept in, not about the enemy, but about his own side. What if they never unleash him? Evening falls. The channel glows orange under a setting sun that feels obscene in its beauty. Smoke columns rise inland. The beachhead is real, but fragile, narrow, bleeding. At last, a message arrives. Not the one Patton wanted. A delay order. Indefinite. He reads it once, then again. Then slowly, deliberately, he folds the paper. No shouting, no theatrics, just a long, dangerous stillness. Patton walks to the window and looks out into the darkening fields of England, fields that should already be behind him, conquered in his mind weeks ago. "You don't win wars by being careful," he says quietly. Behind him, his staff exchange uneasy glances, because if Patton is right, if this hesitation has broken the rhythm of the invasion, then what's happening on the beaches is only the beginning. And somewhere in Normandy, German armor is starting to roll. June 6, 1944, 1942 hours, Omaha Beach, Normandy. The tide is going out, and it leaves more than wreckage behind. Steel hedgehogs jut from the sand like broken teeth. Landing craft burn where they grounded, black smoke curling into a sky gone bruised purple. Bodies lie where the water abandoned them, some still half submerged, helmets knocked loose, faces turned toward France as if searching for an answer. You can almost smell it. Salt, oil, blood, cordite. The beachhead exists now, barely. Men dig with entrenching tools, helmets off, hands shaking with exhaustion. Others claw at the shingle with bare fingers, deepening foxholes that won't be deep enough if the Germans counterattack tonight. And that is the word moving like a current through the ranks: counterattack. Captain Henry Collins, 116th Infantry Regiment, crouches behind a shattered seawall and checks his watch. His company is down to less than half its strength. Radios crackle with overlapping voices, requests for ammo, medics, artillery that may or may not be available. He looks inland. The bluffs still loom. German fire has slackened, but not stopped. Snipers crack sporadically. Mortars thump from unseen positions. Collins mutters, "Where the hell is the push?" He doesn't mean reinforcements on the beach. He means something bigger, something that should already be happening. Everyone feels it. The invasion has teeth, but no bite. Farther east, British units fight house to house near the outskirts of Caen. Tanks burn in narrow streets. Infantry cling to stone walls as German 88s fire from concealed positions. Caen was supposed to fall today. It hasn't. And that delay matters more than anyone wants to admit. Because Caen is the hinge. Hold it, and the Allies fan out. Lose momentum there, and the Germans buy time, the one currency they cannot afford to give up. Back across the channel, Patton receives the evening situation report, standing up. He doesn't sit anymore. Omaha barely secured. Casualties catastrophic. German resistance is stiffer than expected. Panzer elements confirmed moving west from reserve positions. Still no release. Still no green light. Patton's knuckles whiten around the edge of the table. "Jesus Christ," he whispers, "they're setting the table for us." An aide hesitates. "Sir, Schaeff believes committing armor tonight risks losing it piecemeal if the beachhead collapses." Patton rounds on him. "The beachhead collapses if we don't commit armor."
Silence. The aides know better than to argue, but the decision has already been made by men far from the surf, far from the blood. Patton's role, once envisioned as the knife thrust into Germany's ribs, has been reduced to contingency, a reserve, a spectator. In Normandy, the Germans sense the pause. Field Marshal von Rundstedt receives reports as night falls. The situation is confused, but one thing is becoming clear. The Allies are not surging inland at full speed. This is not a breakout. This is a lodgment. He frowns at his map. Why are they hesitating? He asks aloud. No one answers, but the implication is dangerous. If the Allies are cautious, then perhaps they can be bled. Orders go out. Elements of the 21st Panzer Division probe toward the coast near Sword Beach. Panzer Lehr begins assembling farther inland, its tanks hidden under hedgerows, engines idling. The 12th SS Hitlerjugend receives its marching orders as well. Young, fanatical, ruthless. They move at night, and they move fast. On the Allied side, airborne units hunker down in isolated pockets. Ammunition is low. Some paratroopers fight with captured German weapons. Others wait in silence, listening to engines rumble in the distance. They were told relief would come quickly. They were told armor would punch through. Instead, the night belongs to the enemy. Patton knows this. He stands alone now, long after his staff has retreated to catch what little sleep they can. He stares at the Normandy map until the lines blur. This isn't how it was supposed to go. In his mind, he sees it clearly, the thrust inland, the confusion in German ranks, the panic as Allied armor appears where it shouldn't. He sees shattered headquarters, severed communications, a front unhinged before it can solidify. Instead, the front is forming. That is the nightmare. Patton presses his palms to the table. "Cowards," he murmurs. "Not the men on the beach, never them. The ones above." Midnight passes.
then 0100, then 0200. In Normandy, German artillery begins to find its range. Shells walk up and down the beach exits, supply dumps go up in flames, medical stations overflow. The beachhead holds, but it does not grow, and that distinction, small, technical, almost academic, will decide everything. At 0317, a German armored column slams into a thinly held sector between American and British lines. It isn't a full counteroffensive
Yet. It's a test. The Allies bend, but do not break. Still, the message is clear. The Germans are no longer guessing. They are reacting. Patton receives the report just before dawn. He exhales slowly. "This is what happens," he says to no one, "when you let the enemy choose the tempo." Outside, another day begins, and somewhere in Normandy, German generals are realizing something astonishing. The invasion can be contained if they act now. June 7th, 1944, 05:11 hours, near Villers-Bocage, Normandy. The hedgerows sweat in the early light. Dew clings to every leaf, every blade of grass, muffling sound and swallowing movement. German tanks sit nose to nose beneath the canopy, engines low, crews tense. The men inside them are young, some barely shaving, but their commanders are not. They've seen this before. A pause like this only means one thing: opportunity. The German counterstroke does not arrive as a thunderclap. It comes as a knife, quiet, deliberate, aimed between ribs. Panzer Lehr moves first. Columns snake through sunken lanes, infantry riding on engine decks, boots dangling inches from spinning tracks. Artillery batteries unmask and fire not at the beaches, but at the exits, those narrow arteries the Allies must use to push inland. The goal is not glory, it is suffocation. At Omaha, Captain Collins wakes to the sound of shells landing closer than before. Not random now, methodical. Each impact inches nearer to the supply dumps. Ammunition trucks explode. Stretchers are abandoned as medics dive for cover. Collins shouts for his platoon leaders. "Dig deeper, stay low, we're not giving them the exits." But he knows the truth. You can't dig your way out of this. You need movement, and movement isn't coming. By mid-morning, the German plan becomes visible. Armored probes press toward the seam between American and British sectors. The hedgerows, once obstacles, become shields. Anti-tank guns appear where none were expected. Snipers pin down engineers trying to clear roads. Every Allied advance meets resistance that feels prepared, as if the enemy had time. Because they did. Back in England, Patton receives the overnight assessments. German armor confirmed in strength. Beach exits under sustained fire. Breakout delayed indefinitely.
He doesn't read past that. He closes his eyes. For the first time since North Africa, George S. Patton feels it. Not anger, not impatience. Fear. A cold, professional fear, not of defeat, but of squandered advantage, of a war slipping into something far worse. He whispers, "We're losing the initiative." No one contradicts him. At SHAEF headquarters, Eisenhower stands hunched over the same maps. The optimism of D-Day has evaporated. Montgomery argues for consolidation. Bradley urges caution. The memory of Dieppe hangs over every sentence like a ghost. And Patton. Patton is mentioned less and less. His plan, his speed, his aggression now sounds reckless in hindsight. Or so they tell themselves. By the afternoon of June 7th, the German counteroffensive reaches its apex. Not a grand charge, a grinding squeeze.
The 12th SS slams into Canadian positions near Caen, halting progress completely. Panzer Lehr hammers American units attempting to push inland from Omaha. Air support responds, but clouds roll in, grounding sorties when they're needed most. All Allied artillery fires until barrels glow red. Still, the line does not move forward. It merely survives. And that is the tragedy. Survival was never the plan. On June 8th, Hitler finally commits fully. Reserves that might have been shattered piecemeal now arrive intact. Fresh divisions move toward Normandy instead of scrambling blindly. The Atlantic Wall, breached but not broken, hardens behind the beachhead. The Allies are in France, but they are not free in France. Patton sends one final message up the chain. Short, sharp. Recommend immediate armored exploitation. Delay now guarantees prolonged attrition. The reply comes hours later. Acknowledged. Stand by. That is when Patton knows. The moment is gone. Weeks pass. Normandy becomes a slaughterhouse of hedgerows and mud. Progress is measured in yards. Casualties climb beyond projections. German resistance stiffens, fueled by the belief that the invasion can be bled white. There is no dramatic collapse, no clean German victory, just a grinding stalemate that reshapes the war. The breakout, when it finally comes, arrives months later at far greater cost against an enemy fully prepared. The Western Front does not surge. It crawls. In this timeline, Paris waits longer. Germany fights longer. And thousands more die in fields that should have been passed in June. All because on the morning when momentum mattered most, speed was replaced with caution. And the one man who understood that truth stood idle, helmet under his arm, listening to the silence where an army should have been moving.